When money was scarce and food was precious, our grandparents became masters of making something from nothing. These are the 25 forgotten cheap sandwiches that kept entire families alive when survival meant getting creative with whatever was left in the pantry. Lard and salt sandwich. Before processed foods filled grocery shelves, lard was the cooking fat that never went to waste. Spread thick on day-old bread with a pinch of salt, this sandwich provided the fats and sodium that hard-working bodies craved. Lard was cheap, lasted forever, and packed more calories per bite than almost any other food available to poor families. Workers would carry these sandwiches in their lunch pails, knowing the fat would keep them full through long shifts. The salt helped replace what was lost through sweat in factories and farms. Some added pepper or onion powder when available, but the basic combination was enough to fuel a person through the hardest days. Modern health advice warns against such foods, but these sandwiches literally kept people alive when nothing else was available. Fried Spam and onion sandwich. Thinly sliced Spam, fried until crispy edges formed, then layered with raw onions, became a treasured sandwich that stretched expensive canned meat across multiple meals for struggling families. The salty, smoky flavor of fried Spam provided protein and satisfaction that most Depression-era foods couldn't match, while onions added vitamins and helped mask any metallic taste from the canned processing. Some saved the rendered fat from frying to use on bread, maximizing every bit of nutrition and flavor from precious ingredients. These sandwiches were often reserved for Sunday dinners or when fathers needed extra strength for particularly demanding work. Children considered fried Spam sandwiches special occasions because the meat resembled bacon or ham that wealthier families enjoyed regularly. The combination became legendary among families who survived the Great Depression, representing how industrial food processing helped working-class Americans access protein that would have been impossible to afford in fresh form during economic collapse. Before we move to the next one, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It truly helps small channels grow. Sugar sandwich. White bread slathered with butter and sprinkled with sugar became the candy bar poor kids never had. During the Great Depression, this simple combination provided quick energy for children heading to school or adults facing long workdays. Mothers would pack these sweet treats, knowing they delivered calories when protein was out of reach. The butter helped the sugar stick while adding much-needed fat to growing bodies. Some families added cinnamon when they had it, turning this desperate meal into something that almost felt like dessert. Children would trade vegetables for extra sugar sandwiches at lunch, understanding instinctively that sweetness meant energy. Today's parents might cringe, but back then, calories were calories, and survival trumped nutrition every time. Ketchup sandwich. Tomato ketchup on white bread became the poor man's tomato sandwich when fresh vegetables were luxury items. The sweet and tangy sauce provided vitamins that fresh produce couldn't deliver to cash-strapped families. Some spread butter first to make the sandwich more filling, while others applied ketchup so thick it dripped from the sides. Children actually preferred these to many other Depression-era meals because ketchup felt like a treat they recognized. Mothers justified the meal knowing that tomatoes in any form provided nutrients their families needed. The high sugar content in ketchup gave quick energy to kids playing outside or adults working physical jobs. While nutritionists today would question this choice, families then understood that calories and vitamins from ketchup were better than no meal at all. Grilled cheese and tomato sandwich. When families could afford both cheese and butter for frying, grilled cheese sandwiches with thin tomato slices became the comfort food that made hard times feel temporarily bearable. The melted cheese provided protein and calcium, while butter added necessary fats that helped bodies feel satisfied longer than most Depression-era meals. Fresh tomatoes from gardens added vitamins and acidity that balanced the rich cheese perfectly. Some cooked these sandwiches in bacon grease when available, adding smoky flavors that made cheap ingredients taste more expensive. Children begged for grilled cheese sandwiches because the crispy, buttery exterior and melted interior felt like restaurant food during times when eating out was impossible. The combination required careful timing and attention, making these sandwiches special occasions that brought families together around stoves that doubled as heating sources. Tuna salad sandwich. Canned tuna mixed with mayonnaise and chopped onions created protein-rich sandwiches that felt sophisticated compared to most foods struggling families could afford during economic hardship. The fish provided essential nutrients and omega-3 fatty acids, while mayonnaise added fats and helped stretch expensive tuna further across multiple meals. Some added chopped pickles or celery when available, creating textures and flavors that made eating more interesting than monotonous foods that dominated poor diets. Others mixed in hard-boiled eggs when chickens were laying, creating even more substantial sandwiches that could satisfy hungry workers. These sandwiches were often saved for special occasions or when family members needed extra nutrition to recover from illness or maintain strength during demanding work. The combination became popular because it used shelf-stable ingredients that lasted longer than fresh foods, making meal planning easier for families who couldn't afford to waste anything edible. Mayonnaise sandwich. When the meat ran out but the jar of mayonnaise remained, families learned to make this creamy spread the star of their meal. Thick layers of mayonnaise between two slices of bread provided fats and calories that growing children desperately needed. The eggs and oil in mayonnaise delivered protein and energy that kept families functioning when times got tough. Some mothers added lettuce leaves when gardens were producing, turning this simple sandwich into something that felt more substantial. Others mixed in pickle relish or mustard to create different flavors throughout the week. Children learned not to complain about these monotonous meals, understanding that having anything to eat meant their family was doing better than many neighbors. The sandwich became a symbol of making do with what you had. Egg salad sandwich. Hard-boiled eggs mashed with mayonnaise and seasonings created protein-rich sandwiches that provided complete nutrition when chickens were laying and families had access to fresh eggs. The creamy texture satisfied hunger while delivering amino acids that bodies needed for growth and repair during physically demanding times. Some added chopped onions or pickles for extra flavor and vitamins, while others included mustard to create more complex tastes. These sandwiches were popular because eggs were often available when other protein sources were too expensive or completely unavailable. The sulfur in eggs provided nutrients that supported overall health, while the fats in mayonnaise helped bodies feel satisfied longer than lean foods alone. Children found egg salad sandwiches appealing because they were mild-flavored and creamy, unlike many other Depression-era foods that challenged developing palates. The combination proved that common ingredients could create satisfying meals when prepared with care and combined thoughtfully to maximize both nutrition and flavor. Ham and cheese sandwich. When families could afford both ham and cheese, this combination created sandwiches that felt luxurious and provided complete proteins that growing bodies desperately needed during difficult times. Thin slices of ham stretched further when layered with cheese, creating more substantial meals than either ingredient could provide alone. Some added mustard or pickles when available, creating complex flavors that satisfied hunger more effectively than bland foods. Others saved these sandwiches for hardest-working family members who needed maximum nutrition to maintain their strength during physically demanding jobs. Children considered ham and cheese sandwiches special treats that made them feel equal to classmates from wealthier families who brought similar lunches to school. The combination represented success and stability, proving that families were managing to provide proper nutrition even during economic uncertainty. These sandwiches became symbols of hope, showing that better times might be possible when parents could afford to buy both meat and dairy products for their children's meals. Chicken salad sandwich. Leftover chicken mixed with mayonnaise and chopped vegetables created sandwiches that transformed Sunday dinner remnants into weekday meals that felt fresh and appealing. Every scrap of meat was carefully removed from bones and mixed with whatever vegetables were available, usually onions or celery, that added crunch and nutrition. Some families added hard-boiled eggs to stretch the chicken further, while others included pickles or relish for extra flavor and vitamins. These sandwiches were treasured because they used expensive ingredients efficiently, proving that nothing valuable should ever be wasted during times when money was scarce. The mayonnaise helped bind ingredients together while adding fats that made the sandwich more filling and satisfying. Children appreciated chicken salad sandwiches because they tasted rich and complex, unlike many other Depression-era foods that were bland or monotonous. The combination taught families that careful planning and creative cooking could make special ingredients last longer and provide more meals than seemed possible. BLT sandwich. Bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwiches became the ultimate luxury meal that families saved for special occasions when they could afford all three ingredients plus mayonnaise and good bread. The smoky bacon provided protein and fats, while fresh lettuce and tomatoes added vitamins and textures that made eating feel like celebration. Some families grew their own lettuce and tomatoes, making BLT sandwiches possible during summer months when gardens were producing abundantly. Others saved bacon fat to fry other foods later, maximizing every bit of nutrition from expensive ingredients. These sandwiches were often eaten during harvest time when vegetables were free, but families had managed to buy or trade for bacon and mayonnaise. Children considered BLT sandwiches the pinnacle of sandwich perfection, understanding that having all these ingredients at once meant their family was doing exceptionally well. The combination became legendary in American food culture, representing abundance and good living that families aspired to achieve even during the most difficult economic times. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The classic combination of peanut butter and grape jelly became the sandwich that defined American childhood, even when families could barely afford both ingredients at once. Peanut butter provided protein and healthy fats that growing children needed, while jelly added sweetness and quick energy that helped active kids maintain their strength throughout long school days. Some families made their own grape jelly from wild grapes or bought the cheapest versions available, understanding that any sweetness was better than none. Others learned to stretch peanut butter by mixing it with a little water or oil, making small jars feed more family members. This sandwich became so beloved that children would trade other lunch items to get extra peanut butter and jelly sandwiches from classmates. The combination represented hope and normalcy during difficult times, proving that some simple pleasures could survive even when money was impossibly tight and families had to choose between basic necessities and small luxuries. Roast beef and mustard sandwich. Leftover roast beef sliced thin and layered with mustard created sandwiches that transformed special occasion meals into multiple days of protein-rich nutrition for struggling families. Every bit of meat was carefully carved from bones and used efficiently, often making expensive roasts feed families for nearly a week when combined with other ingredients. The mustard added tangy flavor while helping preserve the meat longer, in times before reliable refrigeration was available to all families. Some added onions or pickles when available, creating more substantial sandwiches that felt like complete meals rather than simple snacks. These sandwiches were treasured because they represented success and good planning, showing that families could provide real meat even during difficult economic times. Children appreciated roast beef sandwiches because they resembled the lunches that wealthy classmates brought to school, making them feel equal and well cared for. The combination became a symbol of parental love and sacrifice, representing how mothers and fathers worked hard to provide the best possible nutrition for their children even when resources were severely limited. Turkey and cranberry sandwich. Leftover turkey from holiday meals combined with homemade cranberry sauce created sandwiches that extended special occasion abundance into multiple days of satisfying meals for grateful families. The lean protein in turkey provided essential amino acids, while cranberries added vitamins and natural sugars that bodies craved during cold winter months. Some families made cranberry sauce from wild berries they had gathered and preserved, while others bought bought small amounts of commercial sauce for holiday celebrations. These sandwiches were often eaten on the days following Thanksgiving or Christmas, representing how families could stretch holiday abundance to create additional special meals. The combination of savory meat and tart sweet fruit provided complex flavors that satisfied hunger more effectively than simpler foods. Children looked forward to turkey and cranberry sandwiches almost as much as the original holiday meals, understanding that having leftovers meant their family had been able to afford proper celebrations. The sandwich became a symbol of American abundance and family traditions that persisted even during the most challenging economic times. Onion sandwich. Raw onions sliced thick and layered between bread became a surprisingly satisfying meal for families who learned to embrace strong flavors. Onions were cheap, stored well through winter months, and provided vitamins that prevented scurvy and other nutritional diseases. The sharp bite of raw onion actually helped satisfy hunger in ways that bland foods couldn't match. Some families added salt to draw out the onion's moisture, creating a more flavorful experience. Others learned to soak onion slices in cold water to reduce their intensity for younger children. These sandwiches were often eaten with milk when available, as dairy helped neutralize the strong onion flavor. Workers discovered that onion sandwiches actually provided lasting energy and helped them feel full longer than many other cheap alternatives available during hard times. Mustard sandwich. Yellow mustard spread thick on bread provided tangy flavor and surprising nutrition when families couldn't afford meat or cheese. The vinegar in mustard helped preserve the sandwich longer, making it practical for workers who couldn't refrigerate their lunches. Mustard seeds contained protein and minerals that bodies needed, even if the amounts were small. Some added pickles or onions to create more complex flavors, while others learned to enjoy the sharp, clean taste of plain mustard on bread. Children often preferred mustard sandwiches to many other Depression-era options because the strong flavor made the meal feel more substantial than it actually was. The bright yellow color also made these sandwiches seem more appealing than many of the brown and beige foods that dominated poor families' diets during the hardest economic times. Banana and mayonnaise sandwich. This unusual combination provided both quick energy from fruit sugars and lasting fullness from mayonnaise fats. Bananas were often available cheaply when they started getting too ripe for fresh eating, making them perfect for families stretching every penny. The creamy texture of mayonnaise complemented the soft sweetness of bananas in ways that surprised people who tried this Depression-era favorite. Some added a sprinkle of salt to enhance both flavors, while others included peanut butter when it was available. Children found these sandwiches much more appealing than many other cheap options their mothers created from limited pantry supplies. The natural sugars in bananas provided quick energy for school or play, while the fats in mayonnaise helped growing bodies feel satisfied longer. This combination became a comfort food that many people remembered fondly even after harder times had passed. Tomato and sugar sandwich. When fresh tomatoes were available from gardens or cheap at markets, families learned to enhance their flavor with sugar to create a more satisfying meal. The natural acids in tomatoes balanced perfectly with sweet sugar, creating a flavor combination that felt more substantial than either ingredient alone. Salt was often added to bring out the tomatoes' natural flavors, while the sugar masked any bitterness from less than perfect fruit. These sandwiches were popular during late summer when gardens produced more tomatoes than families could eat fresh. The vitamin C in tomatoes helped prevent diseases, while the sugar provided quick energy for active family members. Some spread butter on the bread first to keep tomato juices from soaking through, making the sandwich more enjoyable to eat. This simple combination taught families that creativity could transform basic ingredients into meals that felt almost luxurious. Peanut butter and pickle sandwich. The salty, sour crunch of pickles combined with creamy peanut butter created a protein-rich meal that satisfied multiple cravings at once. Peanut butter provided essential fats and proteins that growing children needed, while pickles added vitamins and minerals preserved from summer vegetables. The contrasting textures made eating more interesting than many other cheap sandwich options available to struggling families. Some preferred sweet pickles for a more complex flavor profile, while others chose dill pickles for maximum tanginess. This combination helped stretch expensive peanut butter further by adding bulk and flavor from much cheaper pickles. Children often requested these sandwiches because the familiar taste of peanut butter made the unusual addition of pickles more acceptable. The sandwich became popular in school lunch trades because other children were curious about the unique combination. Lettuce and salt sandwich. Crisp lettuce leaves with salt and butter provided fresh crunch and essential minerals when other vegetables were unavailable or too expensive. The high water content in lettuce helped families feel full, while the salt replaced minerals lost through hard physical work. Butter made the sandwich more substantial and helped the salt stick to lettuce leaves for better flavor distribution. These sandwiches were popular during summer months when gardens produced abundant lettuce that needed to be eaten before spoiling. Some added pepper or onion powder when spices were available, while others learned to appreciate the clean, fresh taste of plain lettuce with salt. Children found these sandwiches refreshing on hot days when heavier foods felt too filling. The combination proved that simple, fresh ingredients could create satisfying meals when families learned to appreciate subtle flavors and textures. Spam and onion sandwich. Canned Spam, though expensive, could be sliced thin and stretched further with raw onions to create protein-rich sandwiches for special occasions. The salty meat combined with sharp onions provided flavors that felt luxurious compared to many other Depression-era meals families endured daily. One can of Spam could make sandwiches for an entire family when sliced paper-thin and bulked up with onions. Some fried the Spam slices first to create crispy edges, while others ate it cold to save cooking fuel. The onions helped mask any metallic taste from the canned meat while adding their own nutritional benefits. Children considered Spam sandwiches special treats because meat of any kind was rare in their daily diets. These sandwiches were often saved for Sunday meals or when fathers needed extra energy for particularly demanding workdays. Cucumber and salt sandwich. Fresh cucumbers from gardens provided cool, refreshing crunch when salted and layered between buttered bread slices. The high water content in cucumbers helped families feel full while providing vitamins and minerals that bodies needed during stressful times. Salt-enhanced cucumber flavors while replacing minerals lost through hard physical work in hot conditions. These sandwiches were popular during summer months when gardens produced abundant cucumbers that needed to be eaten fresh. Some added thin onion slices for extra flavor, while others preferred the clean, simple taste of cucumber and salt. Children enjoyed these sandwiches because they were refreshing and easy to eat, unlike many other Depression-era foods that required developing tastes for unusual flavor combinations. The simplicity proved that fresh vegetables could create satisfying meals when prepared thoughtfully. Liverwurst and onion sandwich. Liverwurst provided iron and protein that bodies desperately needed, especially for family members doing physical labor or growing children who rarely got adequate nutrition. The strong flavor of liver was balanced by sharp onions that added their own nutritional benefits while making the meat more palatable. Some added mustard for extra tanginess, while others preferred the simple combination of liverwurst and onions. These sandwiches were often given to family members who seemed weakest or most in need of concentrated nutrition. Children initially resisted liverwurst's strong taste, but learned to appreciate it when they understood it made them feel stronger and more energetic. The combination provided nutrients that were difficult to get from other affordable foods available to struggling families. Despite its strong flavor, liverwurst became appreciated because families could see its positive effects on their health and energy levels. Cornbread and molasses sandwich. Leftover cornbread sliced and drizzled with molasses created a sweet, filling sandwich that provided complex carbohydrates and minerals from both ingredients. Molasses contained iron and other nutrients that bodies needed, especially during periods when fresh foods were scarce. The dense texture of cornbread made these sandwiches more filling than regular bread options available to most poor families. Some warmed the molasses slightly to make it easier to spread, while others enjoyed the contrast between thick molasses and crumbly cornbread. Children found these sandwiches appealing because the sweetness felt like dessert, even when eaten as main meals. The combination used ingredients that families could make or buy cheaply, stretching food budgets further during the most difficult economic times. These sandwiches proved that comfort food could be created from the simplest, most affordable ingredients when families got creative with their limited resources. Bologna and mustard sandwich. Thin slices of bologna with yellow mustard created a meat sandwich that felt substantial without breaking family budgets during economic hardship. Bologna was among the cheapest processed meats available, and a single roll could make sandwiches for several days when sliced carefully. The tangy mustard complemented bologna's mild flavor while adding virtually no cost to the meal. Some added onion slices when available, while others included pickles for extra flavor and crunch. Children appreciated these sandwiches because they resembled the lunch meat sandwiches that wealthier classmates brought to school. The protein in bologna helped growing bodies develop properly, even when other protein sources were unavailable to struggling families. These sandwiches became staples because they provided familiar flavors that helped families maintain some sense of normalcy during the most challenging periods of American economic history. Pimento cheese sandwich. Homemade pimento cheese using government commodity. Cheese, mayonnaise, and canned pimentos created a spread that felt gourmet despite being made from basic ingredients. The sweet peppers added color and vitamins to cheese that might otherwise taste bland or artificial. Mayonnaise helped stretch expensive cheese further while creating a creamy texture that spread easily on day-old bread. Some added onion powder or garlic powder when spices were available, while others preferred the simple combination of cheese, peppers, and mayonnaise. These sandwiches were popular for special occasions because the bright orange color and complex flavors made them feel more luxurious than most Depression-era meals. Children found pimento cheese appealing because it didn't look like the brown and beige foods that dominated their regular diets during hard times. Fried egg and ketchup sandwich. When chickens were laying and families had access to fresh eggs, this protein-rich sandwich with tangy ketchup became a special treat that felt almost restaurant quality. The runny yolk from fried eggs provided richness that most Depression-era meals lacked, while ketchup added sweetness and acidity that complemented the egg's flavor perfectly. Some cooked eggs until yolks were firm to prevent dripping, while others preferred runny yolks that soaked into the bread for extra richness. Salt and pepper enhanced both ingredients when spices were available in family pantries. These sandwiches were often eaten for breakfast when eggs were freshest, providing protein that helped workers and children start their days with sustained energy. The combination felt luxurious because both eggs and ketchup were more expensive than many other sandwich fillings families could afford during the hardest times. Cheese and onion sandwich. When families could afford cheese, even small amounts stretched further with raw onions that added bulk and strong flavor to create more satisfying sandwiches. Sharp cheddar or other aged cheeses worked best because their intense flavors meant less cheese was needed for full taste satisfaction. Thin onion slices provided crunch and vitamins while helping expensive cheese feed more family members. Some added mustard or pickles when available, while others preferred the simple combination of cheese and onions with butter. These sandwiches were often saved for special occasions or when family members needed extra nutrition for demanding physical work. Children learned to appreciate strong onion flavors because they signaled that meals contained more expensive ingredients like real cheese. The combination taught families that luxury items could be stretched much further when combined thoughtfully with cheaper, flavorful additions. Sardine and onion sandwich. Canned sardines provided omega-3 fatty acids and protein that were otherwise unavailable to families who couldn't afford fresh fish or other premium protein sources. The strong flavor of sardines was mellowed by raw onions that added crunch and their own nutritional benefits. Some mashed sardines with mayonnaise to create a spread, while others left fish whole for more texture and substance. These sandwiches were often eaten by adults who had developed tastes for strong flavors, while children gradually learned to appreciate them. The calcium from sardine bones helped build strong teeth and bones in growing family members who rarely got dairy products. Despite their strong taste, sardine sandwiches became valued because families understood they provided nutrition that was otherwise impossible to obtain on extremely limited budgets during the hardest economic times. Apple and cheese sandwich. Thin apple slices with small amounts of cheese created a combination that felt both sweet and satisfying when families needed to stretch expensive ingredients. The natural sugars in apples provided quick energy, while cheese contributed protein and fats that helped bodies feel full longer. Some added cinnamon when available, while others preferred the simple contrast between sweet apples and sharp cheese. These sandwiches were popular in fall when apples were abundant and cheap at local markets or from family orchards. Children found this combination appealing because it resembled dessert while still providing substantial nutrition their growing bodies needed. The pairing taught families that fruits could be combined with small amounts of protein to create more satisfying meals than either ingredient provided alone. Sweet and savory combinations became appreciated when families learned to be creative with limited ingredient combinations. Cold bean sandwich. Leftover beans from previous meals were mashed and spread on bread to create protein-rich sandwiches that used every bit of food families could afford. Beans provided essential amino acids and fiber that helped bodies function properly, even when other protein sources were unavailable. Some added onions or pickles for extra flavor, while others seasoned mashed beans with salt and pepper when spices were available. These sandwiches proved that no food should ever be wasted when families were struggling to feed everyone adequately. The protein in beans helped children grow properly and gave adults energy for demanding physical work. Cold bean sandwiches became appreciated because they transformed leftover side dishes into substantial main meals that could feed family members throughout busy work days. The combination showed that creativity could make filling, nutritious meals from ingredients that might otherwise be overlooked. Potato sandwich. Leftover boiled or fried potatoes sliced and layered between bread created filling sandwiches that provided complex carbohydrates and essential nutrients from both ingredients. Potatoes were cheap, filling, and contained vitamins that helped prevent nutritional diseases during periods of limited food variety. Some added salt and pepper to enhance potato flavors, while others included thin onion slices for extra taste and nutrition. These sandwiches were popular because potatoes were often the most abundant food available to struggling families during economic hardships. Children found potato sandwiches more appealing than many other Depression-era options because potatoes were familiar, mild-tasting foods that didn't challenge developing palates. The combination proved that simple, starchy foods could create satisfying meals when families needed to stretch their food budgets as far as possible while still providing adequate nutrition. Syrup and butter sandwich. Corn syrup or maple syrup mixed with butter created sweet sandwiches that provided quick energy and necessary fats when families needed maximum calories from minimal ingredients. The sweetness made these sandwiches appealing to children who rarely got desserts or treats during economic hardship. Some warmed the syrup slightly to make mixing with butter easier, while others preferred the contrast between thick syrup and creamy butter. These sandwiches were often eaten for breakfast because the sugar provided immediate energy for school or work activities. The combination delivered more calories per bite than most other options available to families, stretching every ingredient. Children considered syrup sandwiches special treats that made difficult times feel slightly more bearable. The sweetness provided psychological comfort as well as physical nutrition during periods when both were desperately needed by struggling families. Gravy sandwich. Leftover gravy from previous meals was spread thick on bread to create sandwiches that wasted nothing and provided fats and flavors that bodies craved during difficult times. The flour in gravy contributed carbohydrates, while any meat drippings provided protein and rich tastes that made simple bread feel more substantial. Some warmed leftover gravy before spreading, while others ate it cold to save cooking fuel. These sandwiches transformed what might have been thrown away into filling meals that helped families survive when food was precious. The fat content in gravy helped bodies feel satisfied longer than meals made from bread alone. Children learned to appreciate gravy sandwiches because they tasted richer and more complex than many other Depression-era options. The combination proved that nothing edible should ever be wasted when families were working so hard to feed everyone adequately during the most challenging economic times in American history. Onion and lard sandwich. Thick slices of raw onion layered with lard on stale bread created a powerhouse sandwich that delivered intense flavors and essential fats when families couldn't afford meat or butter. The sharp bite of fresh onions helped mask the bland taste of day-old bread while providing vitamins that prevented diseases during long winters without fresh produce. Lard was often the cheapest cooking fat available, lasting months without refrigeration and providing more calories per spoonful than most other affordable options. Some families added coarse salt to draw out onion juices, creating a more complex flavor that satisfied hunger better than milder foods. Children learned to appreciate this strong combination because parents explained that eating onions would keep them healthy and strong. The sandwich became a test of toughness in some households, where finishing an onion and lard sandwich without tears proved you were ready for adult responsibilities and harder times ahead. Peanut butter and bacon sandwich. When families could afford both peanut butter and bacon, this combination created a protein-rich sandwich that felt luxurious compared to most Depression-era meals struggling households endured daily. Crispy bacon provided smoky flavor and animal proteins that growing children desperately needed, while peanut butter added plant proteins and healthy fats that helped bodies feel satisfied for hours. Some saved bacon grease to spread on bread first, maximizing every bit of fat and flavor from expensive ingredients that had to last. Others crumbled bacon into peanut butter to create a spread that could stretch the meat further across multiple meals. These sandwiches were often reserved for hardest-working family members who needed maximum nutrition to maintain their strength. Children considered bacon and peanut butter sandwiches special treats that made difficult times feel more bearable when parents could occasionally provide foods that tasted rich and satisfying. Butter and jam sandwich. When families could afford both butter and homemade jam, this combination created sweet sandwiches that felt like dessert while providing fats and natural sugars that bodies needed for energy. Homemade jams used fruit that might otherwise spoil, preserving vitamins and sweetness through winter months when fresh produce was impossible to obtain. The butter helped slow sugar absorption, providing more sustained energy than jam alone, while adding richness that made simple bread taste more substantial. Some heated jam slightly to make spreading easier, while others preferred the contrast between cold butter and thick jam. Children requested these sandwiches for special occasions because sweetness was rare in their regular diets during economic hardship. The combination proved that families could create treats from basic ingredients when they learned to preserve seasonal abundance for times when money and food were both scarce. Fried egg and pepper sandwich. Eggs fried crispy around the edges with black pepper created protein-rich sandwiches that provided essential amino acids and energy when chickens were laying and families had access to fresh ingredients. The runny yolk soaked into bread, adding richness that most Depression-era meals completely lacked while providing fats that growing bodies needed. Some cooked eggs hard to prevent dripping, making sandwiches easier to pack for work lunches that had to travel long distances. Others preferred soft yolks that created sauce-like richness throughout the sandwich. Black pepper was expensive but worth the cost because it enhanced egg flavors dramatically while adding heat that helped bodies feel more satisfied with smaller portions. These sandwiches were often eaten for breakfast because eggs provided sustained energy that helped workers and children start demanding days with adequate nutrition for whatever challenges lay ahead. Sugar and cinnamon sandwich. White sugar mixed with cinnamon and spread on buttered bread created sweet sandwiches that felt like special treats when families couldn't afford store-bought desserts or candies. The warm spice of cinnamon enhanced sugar's sweetness, while adding flavors that made simple ingredients taste more complex and expensive. Some warmed the butter slightly to help sugar and cinnamon mix more evenly, creating spreads that covered bread completely for maximum sweetness. Others preferred the contrast between cold butter and grainy sugar mixture. These sandwiches were often given to children as rewards for good behavior or completing chores, making sweetness feel earned rather than expected. The combination provided quick energy that helped active family members maintain their strength throughout demanding days, while delivering psychological comfort through familiar, pleasant flavors that made difficult times feel slightly more bearable when small luxuries were possible. Sardine and mustard sandwich. Canned sardines mashed with yellow mustard created protein-rich spreads that provided omega-3 fatty acids and essential nutrients when fresh fish was completely out of reach for struggling families. The tangy mustard helped balance sardines' strong fishy flavor while adding virtually no cost to meals that had to feed entire families from single cans. Some added chopped onions when available, while others mixed in pickle relish to create more complex flavors and textures. These sandwiches were often eaten by adults who had developed tastes for intense flavors, though children gradually learned to appreciate them when they understood the health benefits. The calcium from sardine bones helped build strong teeth and bones in family members who rarely got dairy products or other calcium sources. Despite their challenging flavor, sardine sandwiches became valued because families could see their positive effects on energy levels and overall health during the most difficult economic times.